Hey, it's Mo Egger. You've heard me talk about Long Neck Sports Grill for a while. There's no better place to hang out during the summertime than the Long Neck's patio. They've got Northern Kentucky's best wings, an awesome beer selection, 4K TVs. It's a great place. But have you ever thought how cool it would be to have a Long Neck's in your neighborhood? Well, your chance is here. Check out the franchise opportunities by going to longnecksportsgrillfranchise.com. That's longnecksportsgrillfranchise.com. Long Neck Sports Grill. Stay long. Come often. Chat injuries with the experts from OrthoCincy. OrthoCincy has specialists and locations across the tri-state. They offer walk-in orthopedic urgent care. Walk-in meaning you don't need an appointment. 9A to 9P and Saturdays 9A to 1P. Learn more at orthocincy.com. That's orthocincy.com. Dr. Matthew Grunkemeyer from OrthoCincy is with us. Let's begin with Amarius Mims. So he suffers this injury. It's a pectoral strain. Remind us what the pectoral muscle does.
Yeah, the pectoral muscle is what helps you give somebody a hug or a bear hug, or in the case of him, probably a tackle or defend a tackle.
Are there, for an injury like this, are there different grades?
Yes, there are. Any muscle injury, you can have a mild, moderate, or severe muscle tear, and that's going to be really what dictates his recovery. Hopefully it's mild or moderate, with which case he could be back within a week or two.
What is the normal course of treatment for an injury like this?
I mean, it's really going to be your rest, ice, anti-inflammatories, probably some physical therapy, maybe some E-stim or something to try to get those muscle fibers to heal up.
Are there any concerns based on what we know that he'll be able to play at 100% this season?
I would think so, yes. Most muscle injuries these athletes can fully recover from.
Are there risks if he attempts to play through pain?
Probably not, as long as there's no structural damage.
As a sports medicine physician, can you evaluate on the sideline and determine in real time when an athlete strains a pec muscle, or do you need a series of other tests?
Yeah, most muscle injuries can be pretty acutely diagnosed. You may not know the full extent of it without further testing, though.
All right, so a strained pectoral, we're dealing with something that doesn't make you think this could be the sort of thing that really lingers too deep into the season.
I wouldn't think so.
All right, let's talk about Charlie Jones, wide receiver, punt returner, who's dealing with a patella contusion. He suffered this while banging knees during a practice. What range of injuries typically come from one athlete banging knees with another? Yeah,
that's usually a blunt trauma. And it can be really painful if it gets down deep and it's what we call a bone bruise. If it's hopefully more superficial, he should bounce back from this within a week or two. But a bone bruise can take a long time, even as long as a month, even 6 weeks to heal up, especially at the level of the kneecap. So that'll be kind of a wait-and-see thing. I didn't get the privilege to look at his MRI, which might give me a little more information there. So that'll definitely be a wait-and-see. Thankfully, there's no structural damage, ligament injury that's reported. So,
is this typically something that you could at least do some sort of physical activity while it heals?
Yes. Yeah, it's another one of those where you can kind of play through it. But of course, you want to do that safely within the range of what his comfort level is, so he doesn't go on to develop a stress fracture or something more severe that would knock him out for a while.
All right, I want to ask you about another NFL player dealing with an injury that might be, for someone like myself, a bit of a tongue twister. Hollywood Brown, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver, suffered a sternoclavicular joint dislocation. I think I said that okay. I'm not going to try it again. Tell me what that injury is.
That's potentially life-threatening injury.
Wow.
That is where the collarbone meets the sternum. And right behind there, of course, is your major blood vessels that feed your neck, such as the carotid artery, your windpipe, your trachea, your esophagus. All those really important structures live right there. So we usually don't see that from sports. It's usually like a high-grade car accident or really high-time trauma. So it just shows you the level of force that these athletes are playing with. I don't know. There are some surgical techniques that they'll use to try to repair that if it becomes chronically unstable. But my guess is he'll be out for at least 6 to 12 weeks because that's a pretty serious injury.
Yeah, no, this strikes me as a pretty big deal. Not that the other injuries aren't, but you talked about this being life-threatening. Kind of walk me through during that timeline what the treatments and the recovery and rehab look like.
My guess is he'll be in a sling for an extended period of time to allow those ligaments to heal, and then they'll do some type of imaging or stress testing to see if the ligaments around the joint have healed, and if so, he may be able to resume play. But like I said, I would put this on the longer end of a recovery than shorter.
All right, one more to ask you about. Matt McLain of the Reds. We have been dealing with this all year long. Suffered cartilage damage and a labrum tear in his left shoulder. That was the original injury suffered back during spring training. He has been ramping up toward returning and doing a rehab assignment. That has been put on ice for a while because he is dealing with a stress reaction in his rib cage. He's had oblique strains before. Let me start with that. Could the rib cage stress reaction be related to the oblique injury with him that we talked about last year?
Yeah, it could be. Most likely. I mean, that's where the attachments are for those. And just his whole, kind of the way he's torquing his thorax and in order to get the force that he needs to propel the ball is going to be probably an issue there. And, also with the damage to the labrum, his throwing mechanics are probably a little different. So, yeah, these are all issues that would probably be best treated with some time off, and in my opinion.
It's mid-August. The season ends in a month and a half. I think most of us as fans, we kind of throw our hands up and go, look, Matt, we'll see you in Goodyear next February. Don't worry about 2024. Let's work with an eye toward 2025. From a medical professional's perspective, is that a valid opinion?
I think it is. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to defer to his treatment team, but yeah, I think that'd be a very reasonable decision for him to make.
All right, good stuff. There you go. Appreciate the time as always. We do this usually on Wednesdays. Today we did it on Tuesday. Dr. Matthew Grunkemeyer from OrthoCincy. Say this all the time. The great thing about the people at OrthoCincy is they have specialist locations across the tri-state, which includes walk-in orthopedic urgent care during the week, 9 to 9, 9A to 9P, and on Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Edgewood and Anderson, which is where I took my daughter when she broke her foot. It's easier and cheaper than going to an ER. When you have an urgent orthopedic injury, just go to OrthoCincy.com. That's OrthoCincy.com. Hey, it's Mo Egger. There's no better place to hang out during the summertime than any one of the 3 Long Necks locations in Northern Kentucky. Wilder, Hebron, and Richwood, an awesome outdoor patio, a great menu, Northern Kentucky's best wings, and an amazing beer selection. But have you ever thought about how cool it would be to have a Long Necks in your neighborhood? Well, your chance is here. Check out the franchise opportunities at longnecksportsgrillfranchise.com, longnecksportsgrillfranchise.com. Long Neck Sports Grill. Stay long, come often.